Welcome back, guys. This video was supposed to go up on Tuesday. Unfortunately, another video went up on Tuesday, which is in the description. This is Tutorial Tuesday. It's supposed to go up on Tuesday. You're going to have another one next week, Tuesday too. Last week was on basic settings, and if you haven't watched it yet, there is a link in the description below, and I'll put something up here for you to go to. I would suggest having a look at that before you do this. Without wasting time, let's get to this video. Okay, so first things first is understanding the adjustment brush. I'm just going to zero all of this. Your adjustment brush is at the top over here. He has your basic settings. So as soon as you click your adjustment brush, it drops down. Now the reason I say make sure you understand basic settings is purely because you'll see the first section looks exactly like your adjustment brush. So you've got to understand what all these settings do, moving your temperature, exposure, maxing it out so you can see what each one does to understand how you're going to apply the adjustment brush. Like I said, if you want to see that video, there is a link in the description below. So take a look at the basic settings video first. If you understand everything about basic, we're good to go. Okay, so with the adjustment brush over here, you've got your size, you've got your feather, your flow, and your mask. So kind of explain to you what everything is. I'm going to drop my exposure right down. I'm going to show you what it does. So you can see there's my size. My feather is maxed out. So I'm going to click there, and then I'm going to drop my feather, and you can see the outer ring actually changes when you do the feather. So there's no feather, so you can kind of see exactly what the feather does. It gives you this gradient, so it's a much softer feel, so it hasn't got any sharp lines. So that's what feather does. So I'm going to delete these two quickly. If you just click on the adjustment that you've done and you hit your backspace on your keyboard, you can actually delete it. Nice easy little tip. Okay, so flow and density. A lot of people don't use flow and density. I don't really use it either, but just to explain to you exactly what it is. Your flow is, call it your pen pressure. So if you rub your pen over here on full hardness, it's constantly full hardness. If you rubbed it at 20% hardness, you can see it doesn't really rub much. But imagine holding 20% every single time and you go backwards and forwards. Eventually it's going to get darker and darker and darker and darker. Right. That is what flow is. However, density is slightly different. The easiest way to explain density is opacity. So let's just say on 50. Okay, so your flow is full. Because that's your pressure, your flow will change each time you rub it. However, your density is a constant. So if I rub my density, it doesn't matter how many times I rub, it doesn't get darker. It's always going to be 50% of solid. Whereas your flow will be, as an example, let's just make it to 50, so I can show you. Your flow is 50%, but every single time it's adding 50%, 50%, all the way till 100%. Easiest way to explain it, you don't really have to use it. If you do use it, I use it in some cases, but it's really not something that you have to get into. So don't stress about it. When you're comfortable with it, you can use it. Okay. The next thing is, over here, you've kind of got a preset that you can apply. So to give you an idea, let's say you want to sharpen eyes, and you push your clarity up, and your sharpness, and your noise, and you kind of, you add a little bit of contrast, okay? And that's kind of every single time when you want to do something to the eyes, that's kind of what you do. So there I'm just going to rub it over the eyes. If that is your way of doing it, what you do is you click over here and you go right down to the bottom. These are mine over here, these first few are Lightrooms that they give you. You go save current setting as new preset, and then you say sharpness or eyes, and I'm just going to put tutorial so we know where to find it. Okay, now let's say every time you want to apply adjustment brush, you have to click new. So then you start a new one. So you can reset these or whatever. Let's say we go to softening skin. Now we soften the skin, right? And now you're on the next image, and you say new. You're on another image, and you want to get the sharpening eyes. You just go right down to where was it? Eyes tutorial. There we go. And now this is the same settings as this was, and then you can apply that. The cool thing is though, if you find that 2-3 images in, or maybe an image kind of changes, or your style changes, and you're like, you know what, I don't like pushing my clarity up all the way, I want it a little bit down and my contrast, you can actually click back up here, and you can scroll down to the bottom, and you can click update preset by eyes tutorial, and it will save it to the new preset. So you have to delete and reapply. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. So first things first, we're going to get to doing sharpness. There's so much you can do with every single adjustment brush, and every time you apply adjustment brush, one image can have 50 adjustment brushes, can have 2 adjustment brushes, just depends how in depth you want to go. But the first thing I'm going to get to is sharpness. So something that I like to sharpen is, I like to sharpen wedding rings, I like to sharpen the eyes if it's a close-up. certain parts of the dress, sometimes the hair, sometimes a guy's suit, it just depends. I'll always apply sharpness in different areas. And you don't want to apply it to your whole image. This is where the adjustment brush comes in. I'm going to lift my clarity, and I'm going to lift my sharpness, and a little bit of reducing the noise, because I find sharpness sometimes add a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in over here, and I'm going to just rub over this lace, because obviously it's going to be something I want to sharpen, definitely. And you can see my tool's nice and feathered, okay, and I'm rubbing over there. On the bottom left hand side, I know a lot of people are wondering why it's not going red. I have a lot of people that ask me as well, I can't get this red thing off, and what do I do? It's your mask overlay. It shows you kind of where you're going. However, I do not like my mask overlay, and I'm going to explain to you quickly why. By clicking this and going over the eyes, this is great. I can see exactly where I've gone, and that's the beauty about the mask overlay. So I would do something like this if I was editing, okay? And that's great. But let's say I wanted to change my clarity, or I had too much clarity, let me drop it. I can't see anything. I have to first go back down to my mask overlay and remove it. So what I do instead of using the mask overlay is I just take my exposure and I'll either drop it right down or lift it right up. So I'll drop it right down, and I can see exactly where I've gone. And as you get better and better, you'll eventually see that you don't even use any overlays anymore, or even drop in the blacks. You actually just kind of know exactly where you've gone, because it's it becomes second nature. The nice thing is now I don't have to go to the bottom left hand side of my screen. I can go over here, I just double click, drop it by the exposure, and now I can play with my clarity. So I don't want to do it too much. I do it something like that. Sometimes I do the lips, just to get a little bit of detail on one of the lips. And then I would do a little bit in my hair, just to kind of give a little bit of pop and texture, especially blonde hair. Blonde hair works great. Okay, so then I would, if you want to add another adjustment brush, let's say you want to go straight to softening skin, you don't have to click done. You can just click new. Now it starts all over, and you can see it's reset that setting to where I was last. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to soften skin. So softening skin, like I said, you can go here to Lightrooms, and they've got one that says soften skin. This one, I think this is theirs. Yeah, now it's a little bit much, a little bit accentuated, but for argument's sake, let's use it. I'm not going to use the mask overlay, so this is how I always soften skin. Because you can see it's so easy, I would kind of do this. I'm not going to do it 100% neat. It's going to take too long. So let me just skim through this quickly. So you actually don't have to do it too neat anyway. If your tool is feathered, you really don't have to cut it too fine. So be careful, like these smile lines that I've just gone over, sometimes not so great. And one of the tips that's really, really cool that I have to show you is, instead of using density and flow, as you can see in the center of this tool, it's got a big plus sign. If you're holding Alt, it'll actually show you a minus sign. So let's say I do this and I go over the eye and I'm like, oh dear. You hold in minus, I can either change my size over here as before, or I can just use the roller on your mouse and you can go up and down, and then I'll just go and I will remove it by holding in Alt, and as soon as I let Alt go, it goes back to a plus sign. Okay, great. So the reason you don't have to go so perfect is obviously because it's feathered. This is about as perfect as you'd have to go. If it's a basic shoot, if you're doing something for a magazine, sometimes they're a little bit more fussy. However, every company is asking for things to look 100% natural nowadays, and ideally, that is the goal. You don't want things to look 100% fake, and by using a nice feather tool and kind of covering most areas, you're going to see the effect that it gives you. So it's about as neat as you can go. You can go a little bit neater, obviously, if it's for a magazine, but just to kind of show you what this is going to do. So I'm going to reset my exposure. And I would definitely not have my clarity on full, because I don't like my images to look like porcelain dolls. Okay, so that's standard pretty much as it is. So I drop my clarity just to about minus 35, minus 40, depending on the person's skin. And I'd lift my sharpness just to bring a little bit of detail back and remove a little bit of noise. So I'm going to hit before and after. It's going to show you all the before and afters, and there you can see. So yeah, yes, you can definitely go and you can do the people's arms, you can do their hands. And so you go down, and obviously this you can do in your own time on images, but yes, you can soften the entire body. If you, for instance, get to the person's legs, and sometimes it's a cold day and have marks on their legs, you hit new, and you can actually go and you can start over, and you can apply another layer of softening skin, and then you can get a little bit smoother. As you can see here, the arms are getting smoother. Right, so that's softening skin. Now softening skin and sharpening is multiple uses for each. But on this specific image, that's how I would soften skin, and that's how I do the sharpness. The next thing that I'm going to show you is how to lift the detail in the hair. Charlie, if the person's got dark hair, you can select a new adjustment brush and you can lift your shadows. And as you can see, what happens over here, it lifts it way too much. The hair starts looking grey. That's fine. If you drop your if you drop your blacks, you can kind of get it back. Now I'm just going to show you quickly on the right hand side. You can see what happens to the hair. You can get a little bit of detail. So in terms of using shadows and exposure and things like that, definitely you can use it so much. The next one, these are just extras that I'm throwing in for you guys. Changing the color of the eyes. Something that I don't like to do and something that I never really do, but just to kind of show you what you can do. You can take your temperature and you can make it blue, and you take a new adjustment brush and you rub it over the eyes. Or you can go to the yellow side and change, or you can add, kind of a pink hue to it. And there's so much that you can do. You can add more green to it. And that's kind of how you change colors of eyes. What you can also do is, instead of changing the color of the eyes, as an example like this, I'd reset all of this and I'd lift the clarity, a little bit of shadows, and some sharpness. Now you can see there's so much more detail in the iris of the eye. So that's how people do it. That's how they get that eye to pop. I don't like fiddling with the eyes like that. Kind of looks a little bit fake. So let's get to the next image. I'm going to show you a few cooler tricks. Using the adjustment brush again, I'm going to close the basic to make it look nice and neat. I'm going to quickly soften the skin for you, and I'm just going to speed this up because I want to get to the end of this image to show you something really awesome. So let's just soften the skin quickly. So that's the softening of the skin, and I've sharpened the eyes just a little bit. There's a before, there's an after, before, after. Obviously basic settings were applied already. If you want to see that video, like I said, in the description. Now I'm going to show you the cool things to do with the adjustment brush. Say hi to Zach. Zach, say hi to the vlog. Hello. It's my little editing buddy. He loves sitting here by me until he gets a little bit rowdy, then he actually disappears. So with the adjustment brush, like I said, if you want to change colors on the eyes, you can actually use your temperature. However, if you want to make your sky blue, so I'm going to feather this nice and big, and you can rub your sky nice and blue. Okay, so let's just make it super blue. Let's go overboard. Okay, you'd rub it over the sky. Then what you do is I'd hold in Alt into the minus, and then I'd actually feather it back. Okay, so the more you feather it back, the more natural it looks. So I'm just going to show you quickly. I feather it back to, let's say, so much. Then I'd go, I'm still in the minus, and then I'd make sure that there is absolutely nothing left on her face. So you can zoom in and you can go nice and close to her hairline, and you can remove everything. Now, you look at the before and after, and you've got that nice blue poppy sky. Same applies with the grass. So let's do the grass quickly. I'm going to slide it to the green side and a little bit of yellow. And I'm going to rub this over the grass. You kind of see you're going to get this cool poppy look. There we go. Obviously you can do it nice and neat, you can do what you want. However, there's a special little trick. And there's a little tool that no one ever uses. So I'm going to delete the sky, because sometimes you're going to find that when your highlights are blown out in the sky, you can never really get detail back. And to get it back a little bit better, there's this little box over here that no one uses, and you click it and it brings up this color gradient. Now you can actually select blue or any kind of blue you want. And what this does, yeah, little Zach, you reset all your tools, and when you rub it, it will apply that color over. So you would do it exactly the same. It kind of works like temperature. However, temperature, you can't exactly get red. So yeah, you can get red and you can do what you want. Now this just doesn't apply to sky. Like I said, you can just go and you can remove this. Beautiful for sunsets if you want to add a little bit of pop to a sunset and you don't want to use your saturation tool. So I just remove everything there from the hair, and then you can kind of add a red sky. However, what this is really nice for is sometimes, you take a shot in a lavender field and you'll see that, a nice close-up of the lavender isn't so purple, and you want to get that nice purple pop to it, or whatever it may be. It could be a car, it could be a dress, it could be a garment of clothing, whether it be a jersey, a top, it makes no difference. I use it a lot for skies in terms of sometimes, that blue is there. And Lightroom is not like Photoshop. Lightroom, the way to do it, you generally kind of go down here and you take your saturation, you push your blue up, and then it just wrecks your entire image because all the blues go up. And you're not faking the shot, you're not adding a sky, but you're just enhancing the color that was actually there. That's how I use it. So I would make my sky red. The nice thing is if it was there, I could now go like this and I can hold this in and I can drag it to the blue, that I want, and see exactly what kind of blue or sky I want to pop back. And you've got so much gradient, whether it be vertically or horizontally, to work with. So you can go to a nice royal blue, and if that was the color but you want to just kind of drop it down and tone it down, you can. So you just go closer down to your white. And there's before, there's after, same image. So obviously it's the same image. Say, well done, Dad, what are you talking about? You're talking too much. Okay, so that's the adjustment brush tool. There is so much that you can do, whether it be contrast, lifting shadows, sharpening eyes. You can play and you can do so much with the adjustment brush. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Play a little bit, have some fun with the adjustment brush. This is slightly longer than all the other videos. The rest are kind of going to be simplified versions of this, so you have to get down with this one if you want to understand like the gradient tool, because it's very, very similarly applied. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. And so yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Have a good day, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Good night, and goodbye.